Hello. Oh my goodness. I am washed out. There's too much light. Welcome to my hips. Let me know when I'm invited to the party. It's still super washed out. Wow. Come on. Do I just need to turn the light off altogether? Am I invited? Can somebody let me know if I'm invited yet? Super washed out. I hate this. I thought I got everything ready. Shelby, thank you for inviting me to the party. Kind of. Okay. Lights turned all the way up. Maybe I'm just like super white today. I'm turning it off. I'm turning the damn thing off. We've got lights in the apartment. Now it's kind of dark. Yes, I'm invited. Thank you, Rosie. Hi. Hey, Lauren. One of the treats about today is that we're out in my living room, which means we're probably going to have some cat visitors. So let's see. Maybe that's better. Shit. Come on. Really should get your shit together. Figure out your lights before the podcast. Can we work with that? Everything's yellow as hell. Hi. Can you guys hear me fine? I also put my mic like off to the side because otherwise it would have taken up like the whole. Listen, I'm a bit of a mess. I thought I'd give you guys a change of scenery and I was really excited about it. I thought I was well prepared. What did I do wrong? This looks pretty good to you, Shelby. I also heard somebody say that what's most important is sound quality, not really video quality. Anyway, so just get comfy. You guys don't know, but Atticus is actually sitting right here next to the computer. Why don't you come over here, Pops? Come on. Come on up. Come on up. He's learning how to be held because he knows that it means he gets good cuddles. Okay. This squirrely little fuck. Things are looking good. Thank you, Elise. Mindy, we love you in your mess. It's real. Thank you. Is it a mess here? Or you mean the mess that is me and my life? Yeah, we find. Oh, buddy, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to invite you to the podcast, and then I whack you in the face. Jake and I almost have our tree up, which is really, really exciting because it's funny. I realized that I did a video or two, or a video, like doing my 2020 year in review, right in front of my. You can't really see it. Right in front of my window in DC where I did my whole garland and all that. And I'm kind of doing the same right now. Well, you're not on that chair over there, so let me adjust the camera. Okay. And then accidentally you can kind of see our stockings over here. Thank you. You said it's so lovely, Mindy. Also, you guys are probably going to start seeing me. Obviously, you saw it last week. You guys are probably going to start seeing me in more casual outfits because I don't think I have any more. I might have a couple more. I'll have to look. But my phase of buying like really elaborate dresses that half the time didn't look like what they look like in the picture. I haven't been doing that so much. I really want to enjoy my casual wardrobe, considering I've been working on that all of quarantine, all of COVID, and I'm not wearing my casual clothes anywhere. So this is just a sweater that came in the mail today. It looked much cuter on the model, of course. But yeah, our tree, I wish you could see it. It's a 9-foot tree. We, what I was saying was that last year, and really like every year before that, our tree, I don't think, did I have a bigger tree that year that I lived in that townhouse? I don't know, but I've had pretty small apartments in DC. So I had like just this, in fact, maybe you can see it here, this little tiny tree here, which now I'm just considering that the boys' tree, or not the boys, the cats, because we got a girl too. Yeah, we have, well, Rachel, we have determined that our ceilings here are somewhere between 14 and 15 feet. So, being that we moved somewhere where we have a lot more space and much higher ceilings, we decided to get a big tree, especially Jake. Like, you know how guys can be, so guys like Jake can be very like romantic. And I don't mean romantic necessarily in the like romantic sense, but like romanticizing holidays and like getting really excited about Christmas and stuff like that. Jake loves that shit. So like wanting to have a big Christmas tree. He's like, Joni from Happy Days, or Joni Loves Chachi. Well, Joni wanted a real tree. We got an artificial tree because we debated it. And I was like, dude, do we really want to try and get a real tree up to our apartment? I'm not going to talk about how many floors or what kind of building we live in, um, but also, do we want like pine needles falling all over the place? And then do we want to have to buy another one every single year? So we decided to go ahead and get the artificial one so long as we can find somewhere to store it. Janina says, I think most of us are in our casual clothes too. So it's only fair you can be too. Fair. Good point. But also, I would really love, I would love to hear somebody one day be like, actually, I get really dressed up for Thursday night live streams. We do stand Jake. He's at his company's Christmas dinner right now. So the timing was just right. Like, I love him so much. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I hear him right out here in the kitchen doing stuff. And I'm like, dude, like, can I have 2 hours? And like, it probably wouldn't be a big deal if I had him walking around and stuff. But you know what it is? Because I used to do, it's funny because my little office, I wonder if I should give you guys like a little apartment tour out here. It's a little messy in some areas. But yeah, let me just give you guys, yeah, that definitely is messy. That's where we have all the remainder of our Christmas stuff hanging up. But yeah, this is our living room. Hey, that's me. And then that is our little like dining room area. And if you look all the way back there, that is about an 8 by 10, 9 by 12, no, about a 9 foot by 12 foot sectioned off area for my office. And then there's our kitchen. So if you've been around a little bit longer, then you know I used to do live streams from my desk. What was that? From my computer desk. And so sometimes Jake would be out here and I know a lot of YouTubers have this, but I would get like stage fright when he would walk in and I'd be like, can you please leave? Because I don't know how to talk to people with you right here. Hold on. It says chat disconnected. Please wait while we reconnect. That's weird. Logan's currently in a tux. That's funny. Mindy's in a prom dress. Wait, which chair do you want? The blue one, or do you want to see the green one that my I actually do love this little green one that my laundry's on. But like it's just a little emerald green. I'm so into emerald and gold right now. Oh, the navy one next to the tree. That one, yeah, that one was really nice because we had just like some awkward like spaces around here that I wanted to fill up. And it's so huge and comfy, but also like it's in a spot where I don't ever find myself sitting. However, I will say this. It's the perfect amount of seating for when we have our friend Tim over. Hashtag water gang. And it's so funny because our friend Tim, oh my goodness, only I would have a hard time swallowing water. Our friend Tim is a very big guy. He's like 6'5", 350 pounds, something like that. So like when he came over for my birthday, he sat down in that little green chair I showed you, and Jake was sitting on that blue chair, and he was like, do you want to come sit over here in this chair? And Tim was like, well, I mean, I'm just concerned that or maybe. And then Jake was like, you can sit over here, it's like really comfy. And Tim's like, well, my concern is more so whether or not I'm going to break this chair over here. And Jake was like, well, I mean, if you want to come, I was like, Jake, that's his nice way of saying yes. Get up. So it's like it's the perfect size for our friend when he comes over to sit in that chair. Elise is loving the navy, emerald, gold, white, and rose. Yay, thank you. Yeah, and now you get to see a little bit more of the style. It's so difficult the way that I'm trying to combine styles in here because this big space out here, I'm trying really like the apartment itself is very like industrial. What you don't see are I have these really beautiful black tin ceilings or metal, black ceilings, and then like pipes running up there. And the ceilings have these like textured designs on them and stuff. So it's like a warehousey apartment, which already innately gives it an industrial look. But then my sense of style is like mostly like mid-century mod funky mixed with a little bit of boho. So you're mixing these three different design themes, and it's just like it's difficult. I think we finally got somewhere with it, which I'm happy about. So what you see in my like YouTube recording room and like my little studio she shed thing, super feminine. And that's because like that's by design, obviously, because that's like my designated space that is not for Jake. So, and then with the bedroom, I tried to intentionally make it look, I might have already said this to you guys before, but like I went with, I think I call it like mountain boho. And so it's like a little bit richer, darker, rich fabrics and textures and stuff like that, but like a boho type of look. And that's because that's like more or less like his space mostly. It's where his like Xbox is and stuff. And then we have a hall here that we intentionally did kind of like street graffiti-ish looking because that's where Jake's bikes are all stored. They're like all mounted on the wall. And then also I bought a few pieces of artwork from my friend, and they're very like abstract graffiti-ish. So emerald is a beautiful color. I'm obsessed. Um, Alicia, if you ever start making a lot of money, I'm going to fly you out here to decorate my apartment. I don't, first of all, oh, if I ever start making a lot of money, I was going to do a whole decorating show on Twitch. Remember? That was supposed to happen this year and it didn't. Maybe I need to make it happen. We got about 9 people here. How many people do we expect to show up? Sometimes it can be like around 20-ish. Whatever, we can get started. I do want to say now that like we're here and we're comfy, I want to clarify something, but I want to be very careful about how I do it because a couple of people have approached me about how I delivered a message in one of these BAPs, no BAPs, basically a podcast. Alicia's decorating show in 2022, maybe. And all you have to do is have your own budget to buy your stuff. Elise, I'm only laughing because today's a sleepy day, so I think I'll be small. You think it'll be small. Oh, I thought you were saying you think you'll be small. And I was like, I've got to start saying that instead of saying like being very like loud and present. I'll be small today. It'll be small. That's fine if it's small. I like a small group. It's always like more pleasant, to be honest with you. Shelby's moving next year. Very excited to buy new furniture and style. Yay! How old are you, Shelby? I know that we've talked about age a lot, and I know that you're on the younger side, but yeah, because I remember thinking like you are wise beyond your damn years, girl. But it's fun to move through your 20s and like gradually start getting to the point where, well, I think here, let me put it this way. From in my experience, in my 20s, basically, you're 17, 18, 19 years old, you go off to school. It's not everyone, but for me, it happened. And like, you go to IKEA, you get the, like all the pops of colors and stuff like that. You have fun, you decorate your dorm very much the way an 18-year-old would. And then you say you graduate around 22, then you start going through your 20s and start like playing with like style. And you're usually still on pretty tight budget. I was anyway. And like still seeing like how can I make this place look like me on my budget. And so I would have a lot of fun like repurposing furniture. I love doing that. Still love doing that. But I did it a lot. I did a lot of painting. I did a lot with a can of gold spray paint. I still do that too. And just like finding ways to like find your style. And I think luckily, like, there's so many resources online. Like, no two homes should look the same, considering the resources we have available online, as opposed to when I was a kid and like your parents could go to like Sears and JCPenney and that's it, and Kmart. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's what kind of happens in your 20s. And then I think for me in my 30s, or more so my mid 30s especially, is when I started to get to the point where I was like, I really want to start buying quality furniture for myself that I'm going to keep for a while. Yeah, Shelby, you're 25, so like you're really getting into the thick of the fun of that period, I feel. Um Mindy just woke up from a 3-hour nap. It's been a rough week. Oh, I'm sorry. But self-care is important. Let me see if I can get even more comfortable here, because why not? We're on the couch today. I'm sorry, buddy. You can come back. So let me clarify something that I said a couple of episodes ago, but I also want to be careful because I'm still trying to find, I don't know how much longer we're going to be doing this Patreon stuff. Just letting you know. It all depends. Like, if things are going to stay about where they are now, great. We'll keep doing this. And, we meet once a week and we have a great conversation. And each week it starts to get even more comfortable, more positive. I noticed there was another creator I mentioned I take mentorship, or I have mentorship calls with. I don't take the calls. She takes my call. And she kind of asked how my Discord compares to hers. And I was like, well, there was a little bit of turmoil for a little while there. It's going through a transitional period. So, at this point right now, people keep things pretty light, but they also show up to be positive forces in each other's life. That's what I'm really happy about. That's what this community was like when it first started. I'm trying to think if there's anybody in this room that was really around at the very beginning. I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about like September, October, November 2020. I mean like April. I was talking to somebody about this. We had some people like Dean, and you guys know about Cassie. Cassie's been around that long. I used to have, if you've watched my like early videos, I talked about an emotional support group that I put together for it was initially for small YouTube creators to like get together and like support each other. But then COVID hit, quarantine hit, and everybody that I talked to was like going through it with their mental health. And so I opened it up for a time to everybody. And so that kind of became my mod group and like my group, my core group of audience members. And so that's where that's where I got close to like Ashley and Ambryn. And if you remember Caroline and Dean and Rochelle, I know Rochelle just recently rejoined. I know Rachel. Oh, there's Rochelle. I was talking about Rochelle and then there he is. Hey, it's also kind of embarrassing when these people from forever ago come in, because it's almost like your family members are hopping in. I'm like, hey, Rochelle, like, I'm around. Things are a little different these days. But no, I was gonna say, actually, Rachel, you might be the gauge for what I mean when I talk about like the people who've really been around, because I know that you've been around for a while. Yeah, that support group was everything. Remember, Rochelle, when you had your car broken into, and we all pulled together and helped get that fixed. You'll remember that. It was a good time. If you hear that sound, I don't know if you heard that sound, but it's my air freshener. But yeah. So let me clarify something. If I can get back on track, I'm terrible about it. I'm so happy you're here, Rochelle. I saw your name and I got excited when I saw that you rejoined. So to be clear with you guys, like I said, when I first started, this community was smaller, and it was just like it is now. It's small-ish, but it was also a lot more positive than what it became. It was very much a space where people came together to, like I said, you guys have been, to be positive forces in each other's lives. We didn't have rules. We didn't have lots of moderation. It was really just like people who didn't need it because it was adults who came together to help each other with freaking like anxiety hacks, headache hacks, like support when somebody needed to vent, but also celebrating when people had their wins. Like it was a lot like that. Rochelle, tell me if I'm romanticizing this too much, but I really think that it was a really good, like, little community of people that were really great together. That's why when you saw I went through the hate mob thing, and everybody knows that I went on live stream with patrons. It was a much smaller group, and there was a much more intimate group, and those were the only people who I had at my disposal that really could understand. So that's why that really helped me get through that time. So a really good time. I really feel like we're kind of getting back into that sort of mood around here, and that's only going to attract more people who want to be positive forces in your life. So if it stays, like I said, if it stays stable around the size that it is and the way that things are going, they'll stick around for a while. But again, not again, but obviously, I'm not on YouTube publicly, and so the more I am out of the public eye, the less and less people will come around. So the Patreon might continue to decrease in size. We'll see. We'll have to see. Just letting you guys know. Um, Early days, it was very calm down and chill compared to what it grew to. Well, I'll let you know what, Rochelle, things have changed again. So it really does feel these days you came back at the right time, because it really does feel a lot more like that. I do hope that we can get to be a little more active in Discord and stuff, but the people who are around are like just nice people who want to just have nice friendly interactions with other people and come to these conversations in ways to that we can better our lives and be better for the people around us. So that's what I love about what this place has, you can, depending on how you look at it, become or returned to. So, one of the things too, and I've grappled with this a lot, like since the very beginning, it would go off and on. And it will, I think, for as long as I'm in the quote unquote public eye or in front of, 10 people, 20 people, 125 people, however many people, it will continue being this way. So, please understand, or please help me explain this if you have a better way of helping me explain this. But I have to go through periods where I open myself up to more feedback, criticism, ideas, and then there have to be times where I close down a little more. And some of the times that I've experienced problems have been because I've opened up and then stayed like this for too long and then completely lost track of my own voice and my own message and my own wants and needs for my platform. And then I've just kind of like lost control. And so what I would like to do is kind of find somewhere, find a little happy medium. I'm always open to hearing what you guys are hearing, how you feel about this space, especially if you're paying, obviously, which you guys are. If you're not paying for the stream, please close it out. It is not intended for you. And if you are not paying for the stream and watching it, it's probably because you don't like me. And so that is a very, very bad use of your time. And it's stupid. It's stupid. I called that stupid. So don't do it. But yeah, I want to get to a point where I am obviously open to hearing how you guys feel about how things are going or what I'm saying, what I'm doing. But I make fewer apologies about the things that I say if I am showing up authentically to you guys. So there are going to be times that I'm going to say things that make people uncomfortable. And that's just got to be. It's got to be that we have to be okay with people saying things that make us uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, I am not a god, and I'm certainly not your god. So if I say something you don't like, you have every right to brush it off. You don't have to accept something that I don't like. If you don't even like me, again, if you're if you pirated the link or whatever to this stream and you're hate watching it, why? For one, why spend 2 hours a week doing that? But also, like, if you don't like me, then you really should not care that much about what I have to say. But it will happen sometimes that I say something and people will be like, wait a minute, that makes me feel some type of way. It sounded like she said this. You may or may not decide to approach me and be like, hey, you said this thing. and I didn't like it. And a couple of people did. Of course, I will say there are some hate watchers that have taken what I've said and then twisted it, turned it, and then spat it out in a more pathologized way, as they like to do. And I can't do much about people doing that. And I would love to not have to engage with that, because then that keeps me in a cycle of being engaged with people that I don't want to be engaged with at all. But if they're gonna hate watch, again, that's why we need to put an end to this hate watching habit. That's like, how do you? It's kind of like that episode of Seinfeld where Elaine is trying to break up with that guy that she's dating, and he's just like, nope, nope, we're not. And she's like, but I am breaking up. Nope, we're not. That's what it feels like. It feels like I cannot break up with certain people, and then it's not fair to keep engaged with people who are just not even like active members of your Patreon anyway, which is the only place that I put up my content. But anyway, yeah, and same goes for anybody who might be in the Patreon leaking the link. That's fucked up. Like, it's not like I don't know if anybody's going to come forward and be like, that's me, but like something's got to be done about that. So yeah, and all of us have opinions that would make each other uncomfortable. Right, just like Janine said, it's life. But that's not to say, Rosie says the last couple of months have been so much better fun again. I'm starting to feel the fun again too. Me too. And to Janina's point, yes, we will all make each other uncomfortable. But that's not to say that you can't come to me and be like, hey, is this what you meant? Sometimes the answer might be like, yep, I said that and I meant it. And in a way, so the thing that I said a couple of episodes ago, or like 3 or so episodes ago, I talked about, trying to remember exactly what my overall message was. We talked about the various different areas of health, being like, how is my physical health doing? How's my mental health doing? My physical health and my spiritual health. And basically the message I put out is, I was talking about some people who were like saying nasty things about me on the internet, blah, blah, blah. And I said, basically, like, why would I listen to you if clearly you don't have all of these things in order? That's kind of basically the message. And then I know that some people who had not so great intentions took that and basically said that I was giving the finger to anybody who is like mentally ill or disabled in any way, like not just mentally disabled, like disabled or mentally ill. And it's just like, no, that's fucking not what I said or meant. I am mentally ill. I very well might have a disability. That is not what that meant. So to clarify, and it also might have just sounded like that to well-meaning people as well. So there were a couple of people, very well-meaning people in this Patreon, who were like, hey, I heard that you said this thing and it didn't sit well with me, because like, what if I don't have a job, or what if I don't have my health in order? Does that mean that like nothing that I say matters? That's not what that means. So just to clarify, I'm talking about people that want to be intrusive upon your life, come into your life to pass judgment and criticism, unsolicited, people who don't have any good intention in your life. So the irony there is that people who have their ducks in a row, who have their life in order, and that's what I mean when I talk about these areas of health. People who have their ducks in a row are not going to do that shit in the first place. I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time that I left a negative comment somewhere, disliked a video, or anything like that. Certainly not going to people's social media to be mean to them. And we're going to kind of touch on that with today's topic a little bit. So that's what I'm talking about. And to be quite honest with you, if you say like, hey, my mental health is not in order, and because of that, I go to social media and I'm mean to people, or because of that, I say shit to my sister who is just trying her best and is doing a good job in her life, and I'm judgmental with her, blah, 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 because of then yeah, you're an example of what I'm talking about. And I can't take that back for you. But the people who came to me don't seem to be in that boat. So another example that I thought of on my own after I said that, I was like, I don't know that I was super clear about that, but because, like, for example, 2 out of the 4, I would say, out of the 4 close friends that I have online, that I talk to, that I go to for advice and a lot of that. Two of those people are not working right now. So, and those are people that I go to, and those two are probably the first ones that I go to ask their opinion on whether I should do this thing or that. And I trust them. So that's not to say that if you don't have a job, you don't have all your ducks in a row, that you can't have an opinion on things, that you can't express that opinion to the people that you have care and concern for. So that's what that means. It really is referring to the kind of AA platitude or adage that we say in AA, that basically it is your job to make sure that your side of the street is clean. That's all that means. All that means is take care of your own before worrying about anybody else's. And so, like, the irony of all that too is that if you're going around saying things about me like she's a dry drunk or she's not sober, blah blah blah, shit like that, like, you're not taking care of your side of the road. So yes, you are somebody who I'm talking about. It's nasty, it's mean. Also, like, sober people don't say that shit about each other. But it means nothing about your mental health or any ability or disability. Like, it doesn't mean anything about that. What it's referring to, keep very, very, very clearly, I want to say this very clearly, it refers to your character and your priorities. Keep in mind, I am mentally ill, but I am working on that, certainly before saying anything about anybody else's life. So I hope that made that clearer. Yeah, you're absolutely open to having your opinions, but, like, if you're going to somebody's social media just to, like, rag on them and be mean, like, yeah, something's not right. Is that due to your own mental illnesses? Maybe, I don't know, it's not my job to gatekeep that. It's your job to figure that out. It's not specific to, illness or disability. It's not, as much as some people want it to be, because then you get to call me a certain name. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your character. Do I have differing opinions on people based on the quality of their character? Yeah. On their abilities? No. Um, so yeah. Yeah. So, that said, that kinda gets me into, there were a few things that I wrote down. So, obviously, you probably saw the title of today's stream, which is the YouTube community gatekeeping religion? And I wanna be clear that when I say the YouTube community, I'm referring to both creators as well as the audience. So, because I think that is what makes the community itself, and they all engage. Like, some people who don't have a YouTube channel like to say they don't have platforms. Not true. If you have any sort of voice that is able to be heard by other audience members and other creators, you have a platform. The more and more that your words are able to be heard by others, the more and more that determines the size of your platform. The more voice you have, the bigger the size of your platform. It has nothing to do with whether or not you have a YouTube channel. Let's not be stupid. Can you at least help me get mine in the same pond? Thanks. And one of the things that I said about that is because, like I said, the irony is that the people who do have their ducks in a row are not going to go around, like, leaving, bullying people on social media and shit like that. However, some of those people might make commentary on YouTube. I have my mixed feelings about commentary now that I'm not really in it. Now that I've looked back and thought about the community, I'm not sure exactly entirely how I feel about it. But one thing that I said on the Bold Bitch podcast with Gia Goodrich, I did say that one thing that I wanted to make sure that I had going for myself before I got in front of a camera and spouted off opinions about what other YouTubers are doing with their platform is I wanted to make sure that I have my ducks in a row relatively. Atticus, that is not your food. Atticus, that little shithead. I see his ass. I see his ass. Atticus. Sorry, guys. He's eating Moses's food, and then she gets hungry. Um. And don't make any judgments yet about the topic of religion showing up in the title because it's probably not going to be anything like what one might guess. Um, but yeah, what I was saying to Gia is that like I have to have my ducks in a row, more or less, if I'm going to get in front of a camera and talk about how other people are handling their business. At the same time, that's YouTube, that's commentary. I don't care if people make videos and I don't care if people talk about me in videos. They have every right to. I will judge the value of what they're saying based on whether or not they've got their priorities in order. And why should we be discouraged? Why should we be encouraged to listen to every single person who doesn't have their shit together? That has nothing to do with being mentally ill, and that's so stupid that I have to keep saying that. But, like, some people just don't have their lives together, and they're nasty, bitter fucks about it. Just think about it, like, everybody's got somebody in their life. For a lot of people, it's like a mother-in-law, sometimes it's a friend or an ex-friend that you've had to cut off, who, like, they're not taking care of themselves. What in whatever area that might mean. They're not taking care of themselves, and some aspect of that, whether that be sometimes it's just like, fuck, it was probably me at some point, but I remember specifically a friend that I had having serious problems, and one of them being that she had a really bad drinking problem and would call me and say the most awful shit. It would be like abusive stuff to say to a friend, followed by like apologies and being nice, then followed by like weird sexually explicit stuff, and then rinse and repeat. That person was not in a good place with her health and not a good place specifically with her mental health, and what I needed to do was cut off that line of communication and not allow her to enter my life. And you know what? And I'm not I here's another reason to prove that I cannot feel bad for feeling that way is because I had to cut that friend off. I hope that one day we can reconnect. We were really good friends in high school. But yeah, that was happening. She was calling me like every day, and that was the summer of 2016. She was calling me every day and keeping me on the phone for hours doing this rinse and repeat thing. This like, you don't know anything about the world. Why don't you just go be hot and don't know anything about the world? Life's so easy for you, blah, blah, blah. Then like, sorry, this is just, I'm dealing with my own stuff, blah, blah, blah. Then like, I haven't done blah, blah, blah to a girl, but I do it to her. Like, oh, it's just like stuff like I had to cut that off because it was like wasting my resources, and my brother was also calling me every single day during that time. He was going through some hard stuff. Difference between her and my brother is that my brother was not calling me to tell me how I was living my life wrong. My brother was calling me because his life was in shambles and he wanted my support. And I wanted to be there to support my brother. And so I decided that I couldn't have both going on, and that like first of all, you're not my family, you got to go. And also like you're not being nice to me and you're not being good and you're just causing more problems, you got to go. And I focused on my brother. And although like it was sad to see my brother like going through so many problems in the few months leading up to his death, he did reach a really happy and comfortable place right before he died. But I'm very glad that I was able to be there for him. I would have really regretted turning him away, especially for a friend like that. It's all about, again, priorities and character. Priorities and character. So if all of you guys are coming to me and your priorities are in a row, you know your health may not be exactly where you want it to be, your money may not be exactly where you want it to be, but you're taking care of your shit, and you come to me with a good heart, with good intentions, there's nothing wrong with expressing your opinion. Priorities and character. Priorities and character. Janina says, yeah, I think it's more about if you're trying to be as healthy as you can in different areas of your life more than if you're actually healthy. And yeah, and that's also what we talked about in that one. So I'm not going to go on about it, but what we talked about in that stream was more about like, that's for everybody to decide about where you want to be and how you think you're doing in that area. It's different for everyone. So, yeah, so I started my notes on this topic about gatekeeping religion. There was a comment that somebody left me, and just to be clear, I don't know who this person is. Like, it's not somebody that I don't think I've ever had a one-on-one conversation with. Not somebody I don't think who's ever been on my Patreon or anything like that. So don't think it's like drama. But the somebody left a comment on social media telling me to to quote unquote, be the religious woman you claim to be. And I thought, whoa, I don't have the best feelings about somebody telling me to be the religious woman I claim to be, especially if you have no idea what kind of religious woman I claim to be. I will say, if you have been a member of Omni Club, a lot of this might seem redundant to you. So you're free to go if you don't care to hear it again. Or if you just want to, I'm not keeping you here. But just letting you know that like you know a lot of how I feel about these bigger life things. So you might hear some of the same information you've heard before. But I was thinking like, that prompted me to ask a couple of questions as I was taking my notes. I thought, do I claim to be any type of religious woman? If so, is it anyone's place to hold me to any religious standard? And then I also said that I hope to answer this by the end of this live stream. So before getting more into it, because I'm about to talk about a YouTuber in just a moment, a couple of YouTubers, but I want to see what you guys have to say. I have the ability to be really mean, and when my mental health is bad, I know I'm more likely to snap, so I try really hard to keep my mental health in check. Right. And none of us is always going to have everything in check. Like, I have anxiety, PTSD, CPTSD actually, depression, like I could go down my list. The internet loves to do this, right? Where we do like our list of qualifiers, our list of identity markers. The more you have, especially some have more weight than others, the more you have, the more oppression clout you have against other people. And yeah, I'm not apologizing for saying oppression clout. It's a thing. But the point is that like most of us have these things, and I would venture to say, hey buddy, I would venture to say that Shelby, in general, you are somebody whose opinion I really do value. I love what you bring to these conversations. However, if you recognize that sometimes when you're in a bad place mentally, you're likely to be mean in those very moments, I might be like, no, I don't care to hear what you have to say, Shelby. Not that I've ever seen you in that state, but self-admittedly, you go there sometimes. That statement was all just to say, when you are in that place, don't tell me how to live my life. And that's it. That's it. Janina says, yeah, I think it was more about if you're trying to be as healthy as you can. Oh, yeah, we already read that one. Elise says, and asking friends and or family if they can lend a year at least. Yeah, that's always a good help. That's always a good plan. So, oh, yeah, Rachel, are you responding to what this person said to me? Be the religious woman you claim to be. So then that reminded me, let me see. Elise says, I'm not religious myself, but there are aspects that I can agree with, even to a certain extent. But at the same time, I'm willing to have a healthy discussion at least. And to be clear, I think towards the end of my notes, I talk more about like whether or not I am religious and what that means. But this conversation is open to, like, I'm talking about like atheists and stuff like that too. It really does, like, it's being religious has no bearing on whether or not this message is meant for you. This is really more about whether or not it's anybody's place to gatekeep religion for others, especially if it's not your own religion. It's one thing for two people to be of the same religion, and I don't like this practice. I don't think it's a good one. Again, it's the same thing. Like, we're like, let's pretend I'm very like traditional devout Christian, which I'm really not in the sense that most people see it. But Christians love to do the whole like, she's not a good Christian lady. Like, it's ironic and it's hypocritical because as Christians, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to worry about your side of the street, right? Just like we talked about, just like they say in AA. That 12-step program that I prescribe to the teachings of. So, yeah. So one of the things that I really hated, and so I mentioned this in Omni Club, so you've heard of this if you were there. And just to let you guys know, I am going to talk a little bit about Jacqueline Glenn. To be clear, I, in general, as a whole, do not have anything against Jacqueline Glenn. In some ways, I like her. obviously you're looking at her, you're looking at me. There are a lot of similarities in the way we think and talk. So of course I appreciate a lot of that about a lot about her in that regard. Also, she dated somebody that was a friend of mine, and he had nothing but good things to say about her. So there's all that. Um, okay, Rachel, she's only been to one Omni Club, so this should be new to you. Yeah. So just letting you know, I'm about to definitely criticize Jacqueline Glenn, but only in this one instance. I don't know much about her. Only in this one instance where she said this one thing. Outside of that, like if you like Jacqueline Glenn, I'm not gonna like hold it against you. I don't care. She could be great for all I know. But there was a video I watched where, and I may have referenced this in a previous live stream too, so I apologize if it's super redundant. Excuse me. But there was a video. Dude, can you guys hear him? Atticus, bro. I don't know what he's doing. He's got the zoomies. He's chasing a little string that I'm gonna have to make sure is thrown away after this. Jacqueline was reacting to a Paul and Morgan video, and I just want to say, like, I'm like looking at like those people who react to Paul, and yeah, I'm about to get a little judgmental, but I'm talking about concepts in general, and for the most part, I have my ducks in a row. But I'm not invading into anyone's space to like shit on them. But for people who react, for these channels who react to like Paul and Morgan, even like channels like Jubilee a little bit, like they really like they try to bait you by thinking that like they're talking about the deep stuff, but really they try to trap people. But like if you're reacting to Paul and Morgan or Girl Defined or even like Trisha Paytas, like why are you taking this shit seriously? It's not meant for you. Or who is that? Who's that? Something Abby and Abby, something. Honestly, Abby or something like that. But there's this like girl who's like Christian and dresses modestly, and she teaches other girls how to dress modestly. And then people go and like, oh, why are you telling people to dress modestly? Like blah blah blah. Like you just no. It's like that's not meant for you. There is a population of girls out there who are watching videos who want to be fashionable, and it is part of their belief system to be modest. Is that honestly Abby or whatever her name is? Oh, classically Abby. Thank you, Jazzy. And Elise. Like admittedly, I don't know much about her work. I just know that there was a video where she talked about like dressing modestly. It's like that's not for me. I like to wear crop tops and leggings and short skirts and all that good stuff. But that doesn't mean that like there is not that's it's wrong for other people to want to dress modestly. So Paul and Morgan, Girl Defined, these channels, these people, they have these very like traditional Christian values that they exist in their bubble where in their community, they truly believe these things to be good and right and true. Just like in our communities, we have belief systems that tell us what is good and right and what we believe to be true, what we believe to be true, not what is true. None of us really knows. And so, like, I disagree with a lot of the things that they believe. And they probably disagree with a lot of the things I believe. But that content is not for me. It's not for me. That's why you've never seen me do a reaction video to Paul and Morgan or Girl Defined like so many channels have. You think people have a problem with the sight of misogyny in her videos? Yeah, I don't. Oh, she's Ben Shapiro's sister? I didn't know that. Didn't know that. Guys, I don't really know much about her. I'm talking more about I'm talking more about just a video I saw where she was just teaching girls like how to be fashionable and be modest. I honestly I don't care to like learn more about her. I'm not here to defend her. I'm not. What I'm saying is there's certain content that are for us and there's content that is not for us. Just like the same thing like how I was saying earlier. Like if you don't like me, why spend your time on my videos? Why give weight to the things that I have to say that are my opinions? Why go to Twitter and complain about this thing that Hello Leash said if you don't even like Hello Leash? Like, go find the stuff that's for you. So going back to referring to Paul and Morgan, Jacqueline Glenn responding to Paul and Morgan, it's just so elementary. I think that's what that is to me. It's so elementary. You couldn't pick somebody who rivals your thought processes a little bit more so that you can have a fruitful discussion. Instead, you go, sorry to use a fruit analogy or a fruit word twice in a row, but you go for the low hanging fruit, like the stuff that you disagree with at your very core so much, and just be like, oh, they say that it's a sin to be LGBT. I disagree with that. No shit, you disagree with that. I do too. Why you're not like providing this like food for thought that's really challenging me at all. Like you don't see in like intellectual debates, they don't put the girl defined next to the Jacqueline Glens of the world. They don't do that. They put people who are in the same ballpark as each other and can really rival each other with their thoughts. And that's what gets us really thinking and helps us to grow and progress intellectually. Um, you do kind of like watching Cody Cove react to Girl Define Them. I don't watch Cody Cove, but isn't he like Danny Gonzalez and Drew Gooden and them like in that he's like it's like comedy commentary. That's different. If you're doing something for the sake of comedy, that's different. I'm talking about getting worked up about what, and like I said, I mentioned Trisha Paytas in this too, and this is going to come up later. Like people getting worked up about something that Trisha Paytas believes. I'm sorry, like I've said this from the very beginning of my channel, and it got me in trouble. But like I didn't understand why people were getting so upset about things that Trisha Paytas was saying and doing. And in fact, I got it. Like I said, I kind of got in trouble with some people because I was saying like, does this person really care about like what Trisha Paytas has to say? And I actually found out some stuff from a friend of that person that reached out to me, and I'm not going to go into it. Um, but Holly says, I agree with what you're saying. If you don't like what someone's saying, why watch them? But at the same time, if someone's putting out toxic stuff, should we just turn the other cheek? I mean, that depends. You have every right to say, somebody's putting out, first of all, define toxic. Is it you mean toxic in the lens of our own belief systems? Because my belief system is not the same as the belief system of Girl Defined and Paul and Morgan. But I don't know that I would consider their belief systems to be toxic. There's stuff that I disagree with fundamentally. But typically, I think the reason I'm saying like, really, is it toxic is because typically these people are communicating to other people that already agree with them. So, I mean, you have every right to speak out against it, but I don't necessarily, whose mind are you changing? I guess I think that's what I'm asking myself and my audience is like, whose mind are you changing? When Jacqueline Glenn puts out a video talking about Paul and Morgan, tell me, whose mind is she changing? Really? That's why you have to find people that are in your league. Now, if I were still actively making YouTube videos, I could probably have a debate with Jacqueline Glenn, and she and I might be able to change people's minds on certain things. She could change my audience minds on some things. I could change her audience's minds on some things because we have similar values. We're speaking in similar ways at a similar intellect. I don't know how smart these Paul and Morgan Girl Defined people are, but like, we're speaking in a similar league. So like, yeah, that is going to challenge the way people think. My content is not going to change a devout Muslim girl in another country who truly believes that it is important to dress modestly. Me saying like, look at this crop top outfit I'm wearing today. It's so cute. This is why I believe in crop tops. Like, it's not going to change. It's not going to change these people. Sorry, I'm reading what you guys are saying. Elise, just ahead of time, full respect to you. I am probably going to say some things that disagree with you when we get to the Trisha portion of this. But going back to Jacqueline Glenn, in the video where she's reacting to Paul and Morgan, is a video about I think the whole video was about Christian people thinking that gay people are going to hell. That concept. That not all Christian people believe. Not I don't think most Christian people these days believe. But I could be wrong. I don't know the numbers. But Paul and Morgan, they said in their video, this is almost verbatim. I didn't go find the video to quote it, but they said the Bible says LGBT is a sin. And Jacqueline's response is, well, that's true. It does say that. And then she goes on to say that Paul and Morgan are just being good Christians, that really what they're saying is she knows because she knows because of her days as being a devout Christian. And also you have to keep in mind, if you're coming from a place, pause, can we put a pin in that? Because I do get frustrated with some of these creators. You've probably heard me say that I'm like loosely religious in a sense, but not in the sense that I know anybody else means it. So maybe that means not at all. I'm probably not religious, but I sometimes refer to it as such. But I've never been. Like, I did not grow up in the church. We went to a weird church for a year, and by that point in my life, I'd already questioned everything. I already knew that I didn't agree with these things. So I think my frustration sometimes, and I realize this thinking about a particular creator that's much bigger than me, who I still don't want to say his name because I don't know if it would like say any rock the boat or anything like that. But there are just certain creators that have come from a super devout Christian place that have broken out of that, and they disagree with it now, and so now they're like a religious or whatever they are. And some of them I think get confused and don't realize, like, just because you came from that world and transcended to something else doesn't mean that you are more aware than the people who were never there. You broke out of something you don't believe in, you don't agree with. That's great. Doesn't mean you are I think there's this false sense of being ahead of other people because you, in your churchy Christian kid worldview, it's really easy to think that most people came from the same and or are existing in the same. So it's really easy to break out of that churchy Christian, like devout fundamentalist or whatever, like, or in Jacqueline's case, Catholic, um, kind of culture, break out of it and to be like, oh my God, guys, let me tell you the things that I've learned. And it's like, well, many of us have already known that stuff. So that just irritates me to no end, not with her, but particularly with like a commentary creator who has said some very misogynistic things despite being more on the liberal side. Like, I don't know. It's just like some people are just up their own asses because they've left that world and think that they know so much more than the rest of the people. It's like, no, you just know a lot more than you used to know. But yeah, so she was looking at them with an eye of empathy, and I do commend her for that, for being able to do that. But then she kind of like fucked over her own cause. But she was saying, like, she's been there before. She knows that when they say they're doing this and saying these things out of love, they really mean it. They really do love people. They really do want to save people's souls and all of this stuff through the lens of what they believe in. And I think that's important to keep in mind. Through the lens of what they believe is not the same lens of what you and I believe. But she said, hold on, she said that this is true. The Bible does say that, and they do mean well. So they're being good Christians. If you don't believe the same, that being LGBT is a sin, you're not being a good Christian. And like, So first off, no, the Bible didn't fucking say that. Show me where the Bible fucking says LGBT anywhere. Anywhere. It doesn't. So stop. And number two, there was another channel I watched. I don't know how I stumbled upon the video, but I saw another channel was pointing out that what Jacqueline Glenn was doing in this case was more harm than good because she's essentially creating the monster that she wants to white knight for the LGBT community against. So, because all Christians, good Christians even, do not believe this. We don't believe that gay people or people who identify as LGBT are going to hell or that it's a sin or anything like that. A lot of us don't believe that. A lot of you, I don't know how closely I identify with that group, but either way, it's just not something that Christians necessarily believe. It's definitely not something the Bible says. So why would you instill in the minds of especially like young lost gay people who are trying to find, what they believe and whether or not people accept them, trying to find the people who accept them? Why would you instill this fear and this hate and this judgment in their minds of convincing them that Christians believe that they're hellbound when those Christians don't necessarily believe that? You are creating the monster so that you can white knight for them against this monster. That is infuriating to me. That to me is like, it's like hurting a friend, just perpetuating a rumor or spreading something that you've heard that ends up hurting your friend. Oops, I had a refall. Scared Atticus. Hurting your friend so that you can look good by association to the person you're talking about. That's what that's like to me. I can't imagine how many people watch that video and sure might be like, oh, Jacqueline's on my side, but then like, what if those people have devout Christian family members and then walk away from that video having all this fear and worry and anxiety over what these family members are thinking about them when maybe they wouldn't even be thinking that? That's infuriating to me. I certainly do not accept anybody telling me what I need to do in order to be a quote unquote good Christian, especially if they themselves are not one. Monica says, I am a Christian. I do not believe that. And I'm proud to have a daughter, part of the community, who is an excellent human. There you go. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I don't believe that either. As far as I know, what the Bible did talk about was it talked essentially about child molestation and gang raping is what the Bible called an abomination, which of course was translated so many times into ways that served the people that translated them, and people took that, and then that shit wasn't even in the Bible. It wasn't in the Bible. But it doesn't matter. The point is that she had the nerve to say that you have to believe like Paul and Morgan do in order to be a good Christian. Because according to Jacqueline Glenn, you can't cherry pick the Bible. You're not allowed to. And so what I'm here to say to you is that you sure as hell can cherry pick the Bible. You sure as hell can pick whatever the fuck you want. Because you have one life. We all have the right to decide what to believe. That's what being an American is. If you have the right to toss out the entire book, the entire religion, the entire faith, as Jacqueline Glenn has done, keep in mind, again, this is just this one thing Jacqueline said and did that I don't like. You can like her and still dislike that she said this thing. But as she's done, she's atheist, right? So she's tossed it all out. If you can toss out the book, you can toss out the religion, you can toss out the belief, then why the fuck can't I toss out the idea that gay people are going to hell, the idea that there is such thing as a hell, the idea that this, the idea that, and the idea that the other, but I still hold on to the concept that, hey, maybe there might be a place called heaven. Maybe I do hold on to the idea that people are forgiven. Maybe. Like, that's not for anybody else to decide but yourself what you believe. And if you You can cherry pick all you want from different religions. People might not like it, but that's not for anyone else to determine but yourself. So, yeah, that frustrated the hell out of me. Like, why would you? Oh, I have more notes. I was saying that nobody else. Let me see. Who is to tell you that you can't toss out A, the parts that don't make sense to you, B, the parts that are outdated, C, the parts that are inaccurate or misinterpreted, or D, any and all of the above. You have every right to do that. It doesn't matter what Jacqueline Glenn says. It doesn't matter what your pastor says. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You have that right. So, kind of switching gears a little bit. Now here's we kind of get to Trisha Paytas. So strap in, I guess, and get ready. We might disagree on some things, but I hadn't watched Trisha in a long time. But I'd been chewing pretty heavily on some philosophy YouTube, and so I decided the way I was thinking about it. I was like, there's content that you chew on, and then there's content you just like gnaw on. Like when I'm like, okay, I've been watching a lot of stuff that makes me think a lot, and I'm just gonna throw on some Trisha Paytas and just let my mind numb out for a little bit. Because I was watching somebody and they were referring to some things that Trisha had been doing, and I was like, what is Trisha doing these days? So I turned on a video after not seeing a video of Trisha's in 3 or 4 months, 3 months, something like that. And there was the video I clicked on, they were crying, and it turned out to be a live stream. And they were crying because the internet, or one of the reasons they were crying was that the internet is shaming them. And they especially called out drama channels for their personal involvement with various religions at a time that they're grasping at anything positive, according to Trisha, anything positive that can help them along their mental health journey. And they also kind of pointed out, like, also, why do you think it's okay to gatekeep when you don't even identify, you don't even practice or participate in a religion anyway? And I thought that's a good point. Of course, like, I've gotten flack and I've gotten a reputation for liking Trisha, although I've been very critical at times. This is one of those times where I'm just like, no, but this one point about them that they made, I agree with. But the idea of gatekeeping how Trisha Paytas practices religion, I disagree with. I'm not. Great. Now I put something out into the world that's going to be picked apart, not necessarily by you guys, but to be clear, I'm not speaking specifically about certain things that people say, like the time that Trisha said something like raiding my Jew lunch. And then Ethan, who was their friend, their best friend at the time, and also Jewish, was saying, like, that's derogatory the way you're saying that. I'm not talking about that. You have every right to be like, hey, the way that you said this thing, like, is offensive. But just the idea of them picking and like practicing a little bit of this, a little bit of the Hare Krishna, a little bit of the Judaism, a little bit of the Christianity, a little bit of the secret. Like, why is it anybody's place to say whether or not they can do that? Why? Why do we care so much what one individual person out of the 8 billion people on Earth? Why do we care what one person is doing, especially in good faith? Because they are trying to do it at a time where they are struggling with their mental health and they're grasping onto anything that they can to help themselves. Maybe they get it wrong. Maybe they don't understand what they're talking about. So the fuck what? I'm on my journey. You're on yours. They're on theirs. Sorry, I didn't mean to get snappy. That's not at you guys. That's at the people that they were talking about. Sorry, I'm kind of like just kind of catching up a little bit to what you guys are saying. Rachel, buckle up, babes. But yeah, I just have those questions. But the answers I will no longer buy. I won't. I will no longer buy is that it's offensive. Like I said, these little specific things, like people can be course corrected. Ethan can correct Trisha and say, "Hey, you need to I suggest that you replace this in your vernacular, that you refer to these things as Jewish meals versus my Jew lunch." Like, yes, but just in general, just being like, they're participating in my religion, I don't like that, or they're participating in this other religion that I have nothing to do with. Even that specifically, because that's what Trisha was referring to. To say that's offensive, I don't buy that. Or spreading misinformation, I don't buy that. And it's not to say that they're not doing those things. It keeps going back to like, nothing matters. The shit doesn't matter. Okay, it's offensive. How about the people that are out there every single day shitting on religion in general, making fun of specific religions because they love to get a rise out of those people that are religious? Like, somebody just, like, fumbling their way through trying to just explore different religions, like, sorry to tell you babies, but not you guys aren't babies, I'm just, like, speaking in general to the world, but, like, weren't people in the 1960s trying to explore different, like, religions and, like, especially, like, Eastern philosophy and religions and people have been doing this since the beginning of time. It's stumbling through other cultures, and whether you want to say appropriating, appreciating, however you want to look at it, people have been sampling from different cultures forever. And why we care about how people do that, as long as they're not hurting other people, I don't understand. Jazz says, I think the problem is they feel like Trisha is treating certain religions as a costume. And I can see how that can be hurtful if they practice it, especially religious groups that tend to be marginalized. I, mm, mm. I think my primary point is, for one, most of the people that are criticizing these practices don't practice those religions. That was Trisha's point too in their video, was why are drama channels so mean about this stuff when they don't participate in any sort of religion? That's what I'm talking about. I don't participate in those religions, so why would I be offended by that stuff? And furthermore, like I said, I in a sense like identify as Christian, but I've never picked apart. Like, why are we paying attention? I guess that's my question. Why are we paying attention? Why are we paying attention to what this person does on a regular basis practicing religion? Sorry, I'm trying to recalibrate because maybe I'm not speaking in the way that I mean to, but it doesn't matter. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that the shit does not matter. It does not matter. Because again, going back, if you have the right to throw out the book, to throw out the religion, to throw out the belief, you have every right to throw out whatever parts of it you do or don't like. My thing is that I feel like we have a tendency in our side of the internet, in the Western world, of particularly on the non-conservative end of the spectrum, we have a tendency to be protective of any religion that is not Christianity. Because people who make a mockery of Christianity, they're fine, right? I honestly would ask that question to anybody who is critical in this sense. It's fine when people mock Christianity, right? Because they're not marginalized or something like that. Shelby, it's because the internet just hates Trisha. Thank you. That's really just the answer. The internet hates Trisha, and I just feel indifferent, and I just don't know why we care. Elise says, I get what you're saying, but there's a lot of people in those religions that are hurt, and I listen. That's about it. And that's fine. You can. What I'm wondering is, I am barely, and I only speak about this because I'm barely hurt by Jacqueline Glenn saying that in order to be a good Christian, you have to believe that gay people are going to hell. I didn't see a whole lot of people talking about how hurtful that was of Jacqueline. Because at the end of the day, like, sure, I can put on my I care hat and talk about it and discuss it and get frustrated over it, especially because of the effect it has. It spreads out past religion, because of the effect it has on the LGBT community in the name of Christianity when you're not a Christian. They get, and that's not even what Trish is doing. But even still, at the end of the day, I turn off this stream, I won't be thinking about Jacqueline Glenn. And Jacqueline is far more intellectual and somebody to be taken more seriously than Trisha Paytas. Whether Trisha Paytas is just a dumb, idiot, bimbo type or a genius troll, the fact of the matter is they have taught us not to take them seriously. So why is it that we don't have the world up in our, or the internet world or YouTube world up in arms about Jacqueline Glenn saying good Christians think that gay people are going to hell? Nobody's saying shit about that. When she is somebody to be taken seriously, her discussions on religion and on and just intellectualism in general are taken seriously. And particularly by the LGBT community, because she has championed that community with her platform. But we're not going to say anything about that because most people don't even know that happened. But we care about what Trisha Paytas is doing on TikTok. I can't make that make sense. I hear what you're saying, but I can't reconcile those two facts existing in the same world. Monica's drunk on ginger ale and can't text properly. Let me see. I want to scroll up just a little bit. Holly says, I think people just do hate on Trish. People want to be outraged, but also people want to uplift those who are hurt by Trish's actions and are trying to educate her and others. Shelby says marginalized groups are totally valid, but I agree. I think there are some people who just hate Trish and they're using that to go after them, not because they actually care. Elise B says, I agree, Holly. Elise C says, I'm still trying to figure out why folks are still fighting over who has the correct or right religion these days. I don't know if I hear that people so much. Okay, can we agree on something? How about, let me put it this way. I don't think that we can look at these specific behaviors of Trisha Paytas and determine whether or not the internet is upset over those behaviors or Trisha. I think it's too easy to get those conflated. Is that something that most of us can agree on, at least? Is that we can't really put this in a vacuum because we don't know how much of that widespread hate, or you can call it whatever you want, Trisha having a bad reputation, being out of public favor, doing this bringing this upon themselves. You can, whatever you call it. You can love Trisha and say people hate them. You can hate Trisha and say that they did it to themselves. It doesn't matter. Fact of the matter is they are out of public favor. And so can we all at least agree that we can't really determine how much the internet is upset with these behaviors in and of themselves because we can't separate them from Trisha and their reputation? Is that fair? Sure, Christianity is the default in America, but I don't agree with the idea that because something is the majority that like it's hypocritical still because the people who mock Christianity oftentimes are like it's organized religion that I hate and it's organized religion does this, religion does that, but then gets so protective of anything that's not Christianity. Fact of the matter is if this is something that matters to people, then it matters to people, and there should be respect for that. I don't think necessarily the things that Trisha's doing maybe misguided, but I don't think are meant as to be outright disrespectful. And it's okay to teach people, hey, by the way, this is disrespectful. Like it's okay to leave those comments and be like, you're not supposed to dance like that, blah blah blah. Like whatever. I think that's fine. I wouldn't, but it's fine to, especially if that is your religion and you want to help guide people, and so especially if you are a member of that religion and you want to help people better practice it. But then at the same time, that kind of goes back to the point I was trying to make, but I also don't think I did a great job at making. But the point I was making was that religion, I think, is allowed to be a very personal experience, very personal. It certainly is for me. So when this person says, "Are you the Christian? Be the Christian or the religious woman you claim to be," they don't have any fucking right to tell me what that means because that's my right. It's my life, and it is my religion. It's my choice to determine what that means. And maybe that means dancing around to "I love you, Jesus" in what did one of my old patrons say? In that I would eventually be wearing for my. It was the funniest thing. She said, "You'll eventually be wearing pasties and a in a tutu." Who's to say that I can't go out on my balcony and dance around in pasties and a tutu to "I love you, Jesus" and claim that I did that in the name of Christianity? Nobody's allowed to tell me that that's not the case. There might be Christians out there that are offended by it. They might have some choice words for me, and I have to accept that. But at the same time, it's like, but you don't know me. Why do you care? Janita says, if it makes them feel good in this shitty world, then go ahead. If you don't mean anything bad with it, doesn't put anyone in danger. I agree. Elise says, I feel like mainstream Christianity should be commented on. That's growth, and I'm here for it. I half agree, half disagree. I think it's so easy to shit on what's mainstream when the some of the things that you're saying, not you specific. I'm not talking about you. I mean, people who do shit on Christianity are shitting on the same concepts that apply to other religions too. You know, like the whole like flying spaghetti monster. For a while, people were like trolling the internet like that, and it's like, well, Jewish people believe in a god. All these other religions believe in a god. So you think that you're just mocking Christianity, but you're mocking all of these people. Um, Jazz says, from what I can tell, people are telling Trisha this, but I don't think they are taking it in. Yeah, but I guess at the same time, look, is when it comes down to it, why do we care? Why do we care what they're doing? And maybe I'm like trying too hard to like hammer in a point that is just like only one that I myself can understand coming from myself, if you know what I'm saying. Like maybe it's not one that I can instill on others. It's just like, why do we care? Logan says, I think what you're trying to say is that there should be some level of respect for all beliefs, even when we heavily disagree with the beliefs and or the way they're practiced. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm saying that. I don't like, and we could argue about it, but what's the point? Like, some people believing that like, well, if it's the mainstream religion in our culture, then it is something that should be scrutinized, made fun of, mocked, or should be open to it because of power and majority and blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can believe that. I don't buy it. You should have respect for belief. You should have enough respect for other belief systems that you don't shit on people for having them. You don't practice them in such a way that is meant to hurt other people. We are going to hurt people with the things that we do, even when we don't mean to hurt people. We're going to hurt people with the things that we do, even if there's not anything wrong with what we're doing. That's life. That is like, we're living in a very trigger happy world. And the fact of the matter is people are offending each other left, right, center. And I think the question I'm trying to ask, the question I'm trying to pose, and it's the same question that I posed back in April of 2020 that got me in trouble. So maybe I'm doing this to myself again, but it is asking the question of, why do we care what this person does when this person has not proved to us that they are somebody to be taken seriously? Janina says, I have to say, this is actually so great hearing so many different views on these matters and being able to discuss them without a fight. I hope so too. I hope that my patrons still love me after this. Monica says, to be helpful is a good thing if comments are in good faith. No pun intended. However, outside of that, my belief is this wisdom is the understanding that not everything needs your opinion. That's outside of this entire discussion. I like that you said that. Yeah, anything said in good faith, I think I'm pretty open to. I don't want people to be hurt by what some random troll on the internet does, or some random dumb bimbo, and I said that in quotes, on the internet does, or just some lost, misguided person just trying their best to grasp whatever understanding of various religions they can, because they are fighting and this I will fight for, because they are fighting to better their mental health in any way that they possibly can. I cannot fault somebody for doing that and then fumbling their way through religion. And I don't go around telling people how to better practice Christianity. So I think I am allowed to make the argument that I don't see why people are, again, if you make these comments in good faith, if you just want to help guide somebody, totally fine. I also don't mind so much if somebody wants to be like, this is not a good representation of my faith, it hurts me, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't do that. So, maybe that's the thing, that you don't understand why others care. Therefore, it's easy to say not to waste your energy on it, but to those who it does affect, it could be dismissive and hurtful. Oh, yeah, of course. But bear in mind that I operate on many things like this, trying to say that these things don't matter. And whatever I say, you take with a grain of salt. You guys believe what you believe. But if you want to hear my opinion on these matters, we are giving way too much weight to shit that doesn't matter. Like I said, Trisha Paytas is one person on a speck on this earth of 18 billion people, 8 billion people. Okay, so there's somebody that has a platform. Look at everybody who's got a platform the same size or greater. Like, at the end of the day, hear me out. At the end of the day, if somebody is speaking and behaving in a way that I don't like, as Trisha has done, I turn it off. I am unsubscribed to Trisha. Once they started acting in ways I didn't like again, I unsubscribed. And my life was better for it. And also I did the same with many channels on YouTube. It got to the point where I was like, I don't like what you guys are talking about. Like, it doesn't make me feel good. I don't think it's good for my brain. I turned it off. And so people have their right to be offended. They absolutely do. But if you want my opinion, we have so many things in this world to think about. Why give weight to the trolls of the internet or anyone? Elise says, funny enough, I get crap for being Christian where I live, and it can hurt. but I'm here for constructive feedback, and I can understand when someone's hurt from what conservative Christians have done. I can understand that too. I'm no hate for that. Conservative Christians have done harm. I think what I'm saying is if somebody's just trying to sample from different religions, what's the harm in that? Elise Couture says, "I have a belief if I don't ask for your advice, why should I care about your opinion?" I agree. That's essentially what I said in that one live that I had to clarify at the beginning of this one. It was the exact same concept. You seek advice of those that have something that you want. That is another thing that I was taught in AA. Mindy says, "We love you. If you can't speak freely with someone without fear of losing them, then they're probably not the kind of people you want in your life. You should be able to express yourself as should they." Yeah. I don't think that necessarily anybody's bad for not liking what I'm saying. I just don't know that it's another one. Let's have a real moment. It's one of those moments where I'm like, perhaps I'm speaking from a side of myself that my audience is not prepared to hear. And it ends up hurting people. And then I get DMs about how I said this thing that was hurtful. When I don't think you have every right to believe that you have every right to be offended by every single person that comes across your path. I'm just saying, man, that is a lot of energy. That is a lot of energy to needlessly give away. To Trisha Paytas? Are you kidding me? To waste your spoons, your energy, your years of like being stressed out, that's years of your life or seconds of your life. You want to shave that off for somebody like Trisha Paytas? I'm trying hard enough not to let Jacqueline Glenn have that. Nobody's fighting for me. Am I like, and I'm not saying that anybody should. hear me, please. But the point is that, again, I think it's a matter of what religion are we talking about and who are we talking about? I think it's a lot less. I just think that it's more than just, well, they're practicing these religions in funny ways that are not accurate and it's offensive. It's like, no, it's those things plus who they are, plus what religions we're talking about. But also, if they're not your religions, why are you saying anything? And I'm not talking about you again, not talking about you guys, but I'm talking about the internet. Because if Trisha's argument was drama channels, especially making the point that these are drama channels or these channels do not participate in religion, should they have an opinion on how somebody samples religions? Also, why can't we? Like, I don't know. Then I just keep going back to like, if I wanted to do the same, why shouldn't I be able to? Or is the difference just putting it on a platform? I'm open to that discussion. Shelby says, "I agree with Mindy. I respect your opinion, even if it's not how I feel." Thank you. Elise Couture says, "I kind of thank work and retail for that mindset." Yeah, there are just certain experiences in life I think that just like they just teach you not to give a fuck about certain things. And to be fair, I may have gone through an experience like that. And Alicia 1 year ago may have been a lot more caring about this is offensive. This offends somebody, so it's worth talking about. And then Alicia a year and a half ago maybe was more like this Alicia now. Like we all, we go like this. Jacqueline Gwen. Jacqueline Glenn is, how would you guys describe her? She was the one who called the 5150 on Eugenia Cooney when they were supposed to go to that escape room, or that was the like the decoy plan. Elise Couture says, "Also, if a random person ever asks you if you're stupid or something similar, reply with kinda. Why are you asking for a friend?" I like that. That's funny. It's also along the same lines of, yeah, like, why do you care? Um, yeah, she does a lot of commentary and, atheist content. Oh, yeah, and she's married and has a baby, right? Yeah, like, no shade to Jacqueline Glenn as a whole. It was just this one specific thing that she said that I didn't like. Because and again, like, I would not like a Christian person saying, you have to believe this in order to be a good Christian." I'd be like, "Mm, mm, mm, mm." But if the fact that it was not even her own religion made it that much worse. And I think that that transgression is so much more egregious because of what it's explicitly saying than Trisha, like, tastelessly dancing behind the menorah while they're lighting it, and also considering the person who said it and how serious we take them, because that's somebody that we go to for food for thought. I'm also continuing to beat my point into the ground. I'm beating a dead horse. I need to stop. Monica says, "Right, Alicia, the less we spend our time involving ourselves in the drama, the less important it becomes. And how fun and funny how the quality of your life improves." Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to me. But if I'm telling you that in general, if you're offended by Trisha Paytas, your life will be better the less you focus on them and give them credit. Like, I promise your life will be better. Um, Elise B is just chilling and grilling. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you. Mindy says it's about respecting others, and I don't think you're being disrespectful, stating how you feel on a situation. Some may agree, some may not, but it's the beauty of having differences is being able to. I watch about what's going on with the Ace family and such, but I've decided not to invest so much energy being upset. I hear you. I have I've actually it's funny because I've stopped watching drama channels, but I have, like, tuned in a little bit to, like, some of the Ace Family stuff with, like, their house foreclosure. So I don't know if, like, now that I'm not knowing what's going on in the drama world, I just, like, there's more room to be like, what's going on with these people?" But it's, like, one of those things where I have to it's like a diet, you have to manage how much, like, trash content you're putting into your brain. At the same time, the people that I'm watching these days, the way that they analyze these situations is a lot less trashy than what I was consuming before. So, like, here lately, for some reason, I've really been watching a lot of, Cruel World Happy Mind. A lot of her older stuff, especially because she did a lot of, like, anti-MLM, and, like, yeah, bad like anti-bad business practice stuff like that. So I find that stuff to be really interesting, and it's longer content or longer form content, and I like that. Um, it's about one of the practices that I would talk about to my brother is about assessing how many fucks you have to give. Because we all and it's the same thing essentially, I think, as spoon theory. You only have so many fucks to give in a lifetime or in a day. And my brother would get so stressed out about things, like disproportionately stressed out. And I'd be like, "Chris, you have to decide." Chris is my brother's name. "You get to decide how much this matters to you. I'm not going to tell you not to get this stressed out about this situation. I just want you to keep in mind that you only have so many fucks to give in any given day. So just determine how many fucks you're going to give this one situation. And just keep in mind that that gives you fewer fucks to give to anything else." That's more or less what I'm saying. Monica loves Cruel World Happy Mind. Um, yeah, Mindy, it's not my kind of content either, but for some reason with like Swoop and Cruel World Happy Mind, like for some reason the way that they talk about um, these people and family channels is it's interesting now to me. Um, Don't waste your allotment of fucks. Exactly. Exactly, Rachel. Yeah. So I'm sorry if I upset anybody with that. I truly just don't believe in I truly don't believe in criticizing how people practice religion if they're not hurting anyone. And that's difficult to say because the I kind of want to say if they're not trying to hurt anyone because it's really easy for people to be like, "Well, you're hurting me." There are plenty of Christians that would be hurt by what I say or how I practice my religion. I'm living with my boyfriend and we're not married. There are Christian people that would cry, that would meet me, not know me, hear that, and cry. There are plenty of Christian people that would get their panties in a bunch over how I live my life. So on one hand, I cannot say that we can't, as long as somebody's not hurting anyone, because people hurt people. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing anything wrong. Am I doing anything wrong by living with my boyfriend? Depends on who you ask. I don't think so. So my whole point was, why can't we let people practice religion how they want to? Whatever that means, how they want to. Perhaps the problem is Trisha's putting it in people's face. Perhaps there are too many people who do take the religion of Judaism very seriously, or whatever religion, and I don't know how much Trisha's putting it in their faces. And I was about to leave this stream. Let's not do that. Don't do that. Here. I don't know. It may have to be one of those things where like I hear you guys too, or like not everybody, but like some people who disagree with me, and I might just have to be like, maybe there's just something we fundamentally disagree with, and that we don't continue to try to fight because we're just hitting a wall. You feel how you feel, I feel how I feel, still love you, still respect you. I don't need to try to convince anybody. Portion out my fucks and give them throughout the week. That's good to know you're budgeting your fucks, honestly. One fuck to give a week. Monica, you are really like restricting yourself. Is that how you want to start out? uh, yeah, Jazzy, I hear you. But then we also get into the concept of cultural appropriation / appreciation and how people feel about that. And not everybody feels the same way about those things. And then those are difficult conversations to have because oftentimes people on either end of these discussions believe that their opinion, and I'm not saying this about you or anyone specifically here, but just in general, people have those conversations. They tend to believe that they're the only ones who are right. And that is generally how people in society work. They have their beliefs and they believe that their beliefs are the only right ones. At the same time, I get to a point where I'm like, are you hurting people? Like literally hurting people? Are you murdering people? Are you bullying people? Are you hurting little kids? Are you, going around calling people names, or, like I said, like inserting yourself in other people's lives, telling them how to live it? Then do your thing. Like for all fucking intents and purposes, I'm Mexican. If you want to wear a poncho and a sombrero on Tuesday nights and have Taco Tuesday, and I don't know you, like I think that's tacky as fuck. But dude, I want tacos now. I think I'm gonna make a quesadilla after this. But like I can't. I at one point probably had the energy to be upset about all of those things, and just don't think that I have it anymore. One thing that I have to keep in mind is that as stupid as people can be, or as much as people can practice different values than I have, different beliefs than I have, most people are just trying their best. Even the people I don't like. Most people are just trying their best. So you can get upset, but I wouldn't. I guess that's just all it is. Um, you would consider someone wearing a rosary, but it being Catholic cultural appropriation, not being Catholic, being cultural appropriation. But then, yeah, I have a rosary. I bought one in New York, and I have it, I think, in my YouTube setup. I'm not Catholic, but it meant something to me when I picked it up. I went to the Catholic church and I lit a candle for Loopy and I lit a candle for Robert. And my grandmother's Catholic and it just meant something to me. We all have our reasons. I don't really want to argue about it. Now everybody just wants tacos. Ooh, chicken tenders with Korean barbecue. Jazzy says a lot of Mexicans don't really care about cultural appropriation. To be honest, I agree with you. I agree with you. Mexican people are very different than a lot of cultures in my experience. And again, I am Mexican, so maybe it's different for me. Um, but a lot of Mexican people just kind of want to be left alone and left to live, and it's just different. So for different people. And I'm not saying other people in other cultures haven't had their experiences, but just from personal experience and what I know, what I know based on what I've learned firsthand from family and talking to my mom about how these people, it's like, we work so hard to get our family over here, and to have done so illegally, you just kind of hope that people accept you and let you live your life here. um you wrote a book about a Christian vampire, Monica. Shame, for shame. I wore pants to an event at church when I was 13, and I had my hair up because I'm a harlot, and only harlots wear pants and put their hair up. Um, for, I got into trouble when I was a Catholic youth group leader for saying Halloween wasn't Christian or about Jesus. But it's not. Nobody thinks it is. What is it? Why would you get in trouble for that? That's so silly. That's so funny. And like the funny thing is too about holidays, and maybe I shouldn't get into this whole topic, but like I are we going to hold holidays based on what they historically meant, or are we holding holidays based on what they mean to us now? I'm not just talking about, we had Thanksgiving most recently, and of course, that's a pretty, controversial topic. But like growing up, when I went to that church for a year, and like they would do the fall harvest thing, but we couldn't do Halloween. Like we had those Christian friends who didn't do trick or treating, couldn't do Halloween, and they give you these brochures that tell you about the origin of Halloween and how evil it is. And it's like, even if this stuff is true, all it's about is that kids want to get dressed up like superheroes and get candy. That's what it is. And when we have holidays and we have these celebrations, we all get together as communities and we enjoy ourselves. And if that's the case, then only Christians would be celebrating Christmas. Like people just get themselves worked up on both sides of the court over what? Luis Couture. With Mexicans, give respect or face a chancla. Yeah, how is Halloween supposed to be about Jesus? That's so silly. I called myself a harlot. Rachel, because I went to a church function wearing pants and I had my hair up, and I didn't realize that this church was so fundamental that you're not allowed to do those things as a woman. Jesus wanted them to pray a lot that day or something. Ugh. God. Maybe they just want to dress up like superheroes and get candy. Maybe that's all it is. We don't need to. Again, maybe those people have the luxury and the privilege to give that many fucks about that. And maybe I'm going to get myself in damn trouble. Maybe my Mexican grandmother, just as Jazzy said, doesn't have the fucks to give to care about about whether or not people are wearing ponchos and sombreros on Taco Tuesday because she what did I say in my one video where I was like we're worried too much about getting our entire all of our kids across the Rio Grande and like living in our homes and keeping them clean even though we have dirt floors, sending children to school, we can't speak English like they do at their schools. We want to make sure that we're sending them off with their hair clean every day. Well, like there's so many things to worry about. It's like how many fucks do you have to give to these petty little things? That's all I was saying. You can apply that to anything that you want. It doesn't necessarily need to be the specific example I gave. My dad gets more offended by people calling Taco Bell Mexican food. True. I get more offended by people calling Mexican food on the East Coast Mexican food because it's not Mexican food. Taco Bell is good. Um, that's funny. But I did say here, by the way, just to answer the questions from the very beginning, I was like, about whether or not I am a religious woman and if anybody has a right to tell me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've already kind of touched on this, but I said, with me, I have a lot of fun with the idea of religion, a personal experience with it, not organized religion or something that I share with anyone else. It's just a very individual interpretation of it. Let's put it that way. As well as spirituality, which I recognize is rooted in belief. So it is something that I have chosen, not something that I know. And something, so this is all stuff that I have fun with. It's stuff that I find ways that to help it enhance my life. Um, and because I'm so aware of what religion truly is to me, I'm very if I put here I'm side by side with atheists. Like I know where they're coming from, and I hope that a lot of them can hear where I'm coming from. Um, because it hopefully a lot of us that are pretty aware and intelligent can recognize that a lot of this stuff is we don't know. Some of you guys are Christian, some of you guys are other religions, some of you guys are a-religious, some of you guys are agnostic, some of you guys are atheists, some of you are theists, but you don't have religion. But we hopefully can all recognize that we don't know. And so everybody's got the right to choose what they practice. Um, but that's not in regards to church debate. I would love to move on from that topic. But I put here I can and will throw out any parts I don't like or what doesn't make sense to me. So no one has the right to tell me what kind of a religious woman to be based on their assessment of what religion assessment of religion and what a religious woman looks like. To answer that question, if you couldn't guess, that's where that was going. Elisa, same mind. It's why I'm Episcopalian because it has the same structure as Mass, but most are super inclusive. I do love a lot about Catholic, the Catholic religion. I just think it's beautiful. I'm not Catholic, but there's a lot that I think is beautiful about it. Funny enough, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm religious, lol. Is that because of what religion was used to harm others when I was in the South? Who knows? Yeah, who know? Again, like it's kind of like I was saying, like, can we really put the whole Trisha Paytas and what they're doing with religion in a vacuum when certain factors like their reputation comes into play? Like these things, we can't. They are multivariable, so we really can't know exactly why we feel this way or that about any particular situation when there are multiple variables at play. We can talk about them. We can talk about the concepts. I think that my message overall, and you can disagree. You can simply disagree. But I just believe that it is not anyone else's place to tell them how to practice any particular religion, especially if it's not their own. That's what it is. That's what it is. I didn't like Jacqueline Glenn telling me how to be a Christian. That's what it is. And whatever Trisha Paytas is doing, I don't know. They're not telling me how to be what I am. If somebody practices a religion that has the same name as mine in a weird way or a way I don't agree with, that's on them. I have spoken out against how some Christians behave in situations where I think it is necessary, where these people have truly hurt somebody I love at the very core by telling them that they're going to hell because of who they are. In moments like that's where I go, okay, this is worth my fucks. And I'm not going to go to those people and try to change them, but I will go to my friend and correct what they've been told. And correct what they've been told in the sense that telling them that this, just because somebody said this thing does not mean that it's true. But again, because you get to decide what this means to you. All right. I think I've been chatting, and now I'm at that point where I'm rambling. I'm rambling and daydreaming about a quesadilla, to be honest. Or I may be disconnected from the chat. Is that what's happening? Because nobody's saying anything. I would love to tell you that I love you before I log off. Where are y'all? Where is everyone in the chat? Did I lose you? Did I lose you? All right. I think I might have lost the chat. I'm not sure. But I do love you guys. I do appreciate the conversation. I do, anytime you talk about right religion or politics, it's dicey, dude. But we moved through the conversation about religion with some things where I think we can have some certain underlying general understandings and things that we agree upon and or other things we disagree about, and that's religion. People don't agree about religion. That's the beauty of it. Again, not all of us are American, but the beauty of being American is that that our Americanness is predicated on our right to practice whatever religion we choose to practice, however we choose to practice it, and to discuss it however we want. Says chat is disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. That's what's happening. Where I feel like I'm alone in this party. I'm waiting for it to be reconnected. Hopefully it'll be reconnected before 8, because at 8 o'clock I'm going and I'm making a quesadilla. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. What? I also need to go turn on the air conditioner. I'm hot. I'm hot and I want a quesadilla. I'm giving it some time. I have no idea what anyone's saying. Can you guys at least hear me? Oh, I'm not even connected on Discord. Am I connected anywhere? Can anyone hear me anywhere? I'm kind of clicking around the internet just to see. Trying to reconnect on Gmail. Awesome. Connect to the internet. You're offline. Awesome. Bummer. Well, hopefully you guys got to hear this in the playback. I'm going to log off feeling very alone. I'm so sorry. I love you guys. Thank you for the very mind-challenging conversation we had. I'm really sorry. I'll say hello to everybody over on Discord, just to let y'all know I love you. All right, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye.